Hello, my dear students. This is Reverend Dr. Chaffee, your professor for Gen Bio, General Biology at St. Thomas University. Okay, this is a little guide video on the quizzes that you have waiting for you in Canvas. So I have on the screen the Canvas page for this course, title here, and this is the textbook. At this point, we're in the second week of classes already, so it's essential that you have your textbook with you, okay? Remember that going forward, you're going to be owning your own education, and therefore you need to have the textbook because the textbook is the one that's going to teach you. So at this point, if you don't have your textbook yet, please go see your faculty advisor immediately. Go see your faculty advisor immediately and tell her or him that you don't have a textbook. And that person should be able to help you get your textbook immediately. At least a link where you can get the textbook online, minimally, if not the actual hard copy in your hands. Okay? All right. Now, moving forward. This is part of your STU collegiate magical experience, which is that part of it, that we become mentors for you with hands-on experience that will help you beyond St. Thomas University once you graduate into your professional life and sometimes even your personal and family life, but very especially your professional life. And that's why I'm saying now more than ever, you need to own your education. To own your education. Okay, so we are resource people for you. We faculty, we are the resource persons for you. But you really need to be hands-on with your education and become proactive if you haven't been so yet. Part of owning your education is that to learn that you can teach yourself essentially anything that you want to learn. All right, so you can teach yourself essentially anything you want to learn. And the basic tool that you need there is two tools. You need access to online, and then also you need a thinking tool, which is your mind. All right, so you become critical thinkers because once you get online, on the internet, you're going to find a wealth of information, in fact, overwhelming information. And then you have to weed through all that and discern what is it really that you're looking for and what is true about what you're reading online and so forth, okay? So in biology and science, we have a bit of an advantage because it's not based so much on opinion. Yes, we do analysis of issues and we do analysis of nature to seek to understand how nature works, but nature works whether we understand it or not. All right, so it's pretty objective. I'm in my office right now, for example, at St. Thomas University. It's facing north in the School of Science, and I have beautiful pine trees right outside my office. They're gorgeous, they're large, majestic, and they've been here for dozens and dozens of years. The photosynthesis that is going on in these trees right now is real and true, objectively speaking, whether I understand it or not, whether I want it or not, it's there, it's happening. And so one advantage that we have as human beings is that we can understand nature, all right, a good bit of it. And so we can tell when we see a plant that is green, we can tell internally what's going on at the biochemical level, which is basically photosynthesis. And also because they are living, they have living cells, they're also consuming part of the glucose that they're producing, all right? And therefore, plants are producers and consumers because they consume part of the energy, or part of the glucose that they produce for their own life, for their own metabolism, which is known as cellular respiration. All right. Okay, so that's just a little example that is going on right now in front of me as I'm looking out the window, whether I understand it or not. All right, so that, again, the advantage in science and biology, natural sciences is nature is what it is, regardless of our opinion about it. And it gives us an objective basis for talking about nature and understanding the processes that happen in nature, right? Because we seek to know, and that allows us to be critical thinkers. So here is the homepage of our course. Now I have already posted the syllabus. You can go to the syllabus on the left-hand side menu. And here is the syllabus. It's in a Word document, so you can click in it and it will take you to the actual document. One more click. Let's see if it appears on the screen here. It should appear. Talking about internet, we're all dependent on internet connection, right? And that's where patience pays. It's part of character formation, by the way, which is also part of your collegiate experience. Developing patience and perseverance, those two great virtues go together because they help us out. With patience, there is the document. All right, so you can scroll and read it here. You can go page by page, or you can also download it on this link here. Okay, now let's talk about your quizzes, because as I mentioned in the previous video, you're going to have a weekly quiz, sometimes 2 weekly quizzes. For example, last week and this week, we need to catch up. All right, so you have 2 quizzes from last week. One I posted already. The second one will be posted by tomorrow. And then both of those quizzes are due Friday, midnight of this week. And that will catch us up to last week. And then during this week, I'm going to post the other 2 quizzes, which will be quiz number 3 and 4, corresponding for this week. And they will be due by Wednesday midnight of next week. And then going forward already into the 3rd week of the program, the 3rd week of the course, then you will have been caught up with all the quizzes and materials, so that it would be, most of the time will be 1 quiz per week. Going forward, of course, we're getting deeper and deeper into the material, into the course subject itself, which is a general overview of biology. So with regards to the quizzes, then I want to give you some strategy. This is part of your self-teaching, right? Some strategy on how to learn, how to own your learning from the textbook. Okay, so what you do is first, let's say, you can go to the quiz page here. And quiz 1, which is already here, corresponds to chapter 1 of your textbook. So each quiz corresponds to each chapter of the textbook. Oh, there's the actual quiz. All right, I'm going to leave it here for now. There's the first question there. So I'm in, you may notice I'm in the student view of Canvas. And so this is what you will be seeing, or what you are seeing right now. In fact, I recommend you go to Canvas as you watch the video and follow along. Basically, each week you will have a quiz to do. Like I say, we have to catch up with these first 2 weeks, 2 quizzes each week, because the beginning material is not that hard. It's mostly material that you have seen already in high school, and sometimes even elementary school in basic science, or in your biology or Gen Chem course at the high school level. So it's mostly a review of what you've seen already. And using your intellect, just using your mind to understand the question and then understand the proper answer. So this is, again, learning strategy. Start with your chapter review. In other words, you go to your textbook, and at the end of each chapter, there will be a section that is called chapter review. And typically it's 1 or 2 pages, all right? Just 1 or 2 pages is short. And that is a summary, a review of the entire chapter. Start there. Don't start right into the whole chapter itself. Go at the end of the chapter, especially these first chapters, right, where it's more general knowledge, and read the chapter review. Just read it slowly and surely. Again, patience and perseverance. Read it in detail. Make sure you understand everything that is in that chapter review. If there's something in the chapter review that you're not clear about, or you don't understand, or you need further clarification, then you go into the text of the chapter itself. So you're kind of working backwards. You start at the end of the chapter with the review, you read that. Most of what you read there, you'll know already, you understand it. But if there's something that you're not too familiar with, then go into the chapter itself to read it up. And you'll notice it's by sections. It has each section is labeled in bold, is the heading of each section. So for example, if you're not too familiar with the scientific classification in nature that we use in science, in natural sciences, then you go into the textbook, into the actual chapter to read about that. And that will be a few pages, typically 2 or 3 pages on that particular section, on that particular topic. So you don't really have to read the whole chapter if you look at the review, because you'll notice that many things, if not most of them, you already know, okay? All right, after you do the chapter review, that you have read it carefully and understanding, then do the self-quiz, which is in the following page. So it's the very last page, if you will, of each chapter. Each chapter has a self-quiz with about a dozen questions. Go through the questions, answer the questions, get out pencil and paper, all right, and answer the questions. And then you go back to the appendix at the end of the book to see the right answer for each one of those questions. Obviously, don't look up the answer before you give it a try on your own, all right? Because why? Since you're owning your education going forward and you're self-teaching, if you look up the answer, you're only cheating yourself. I mean, who else really cares that you know the material or not? At the end of the day, you're the first one who should care, because you're paying for it, etc. So you're paying for this education. So please do not look at the answer before you answer the question yourself. Okay, it's there, and this is also part of the collegiate experience here at St. Thomas University, which is character formation, ethical, moral character. All right, we are people of integrity. And as people of integrity, we can hold our professional and our personal life in good standing, and we feel proud of it. So in a job, for example, not always are you going to be supervised. In education, not always are you going to be proctored in an exam. And so personal integrity means that I do the right thing because it's the right thing. And the right thing, of course, is to answer the question before looking at the answer, right? And then this quiz, this self-quiz, will be very informative for you, because once you have answered all the questions in the self-quiz, you go to the end of the chapter, like I said, to the end of the book, in the appendix, and look up the proper answer, and then you can correct yourself, you can grade yourself and see how you did in the quiz. See? I can guarantee you, if you use this method of reviewing the chapter first, and then clearing out from the review what you don't understand into the chapter itself, by the time you get to that quiz, you'll be very competent in that quiz. And I can guarantee you, you're gonna give yourself a very high grade, all right? Because you would know most of the answers, if not all of them. Then we actually learn from our mistakes. Okay, we learn more from our mistakes. If I go back in my life through memory, I remember more the times that I made mistakes than the times I did things right, because they tend to stick with us, all right? Nobody likes to make mistakes, and so they stick with us. In other words, the questions that you got wrong in the quiz, those are the questions that you really want to understand, because those are your lacunae. A lacuna is just Latin for a lagoon, okay? A deep, dark lagoon, a lack of knowledge, a lack of knowledge. So there's one area there that you're not familiar with. And therefore, that's what you really want to study again. And there's where you go back into the chapter after the quiz, go back into the chapter text itself and look for that section so that you read it well and you understand it well. If after doing that, after taking the quiz and after looking up your wrong answers in the text, you still don't find the answer, you're still not sure about the right answer or how it works, sometimes it may be a mechanism or a pathway or something like that, then get online, get online. Your textbook is not the only source for this material. There's a wealth of information, especially basic biology. Okay, there is a wealth of information online. So get online, Google the topic, and read up a little bit more on it. And if after you do that second step of getting online and trying to research the topic of yourself, you say you're teaching yourself, you're learning how to teach yourself, you still are not sure, you're still not getting it right, then come see one of us. Come see one of us. Of course, I will be the first line of mentorship for you as your professor, as your instructor for this course. So shoot me an email, give me a call. You have my cell phone number, and we'll go over it. We'll talk about it. All right. And if you still get no resolution from me, then you seek some other professor here on campus that may be more competent in that particular field. All right, particularly here in the School of Science, which is where we have our biologists. But you have all these steps, and you see, you work on them incrementally. That's also part of the character formation. You are truly owning your education by doing this. You follow? And then things will open up for you. And by the time you get to the quiz, it's not this one, but any quiz, you will feel so competent. You're going to be acing those quiz, tests, or exams that you're going to be taking. All right, guaranteed. But you got to take it step by step. And remember, patience, perseverance, character formation, personal integrity. Basic, basic, basic stuff. All right, now, let me see. Learning strategy. Look at the review first, do the quiz, go back and answer and research the questions you got wrong. Good. All right, now let's talk about the quiz itself. So this is strategy for the quiz, right? Like this question number one. You're going to have 20 questions in every quiz, 20 questions. And so, and you have half an hour. Yes, they're timed because this forces the mind to be active, to be on, okay, and to stay on and not go off and not wander and look at your emails or check your text and fool around with your cell phone. No, you're focusing on this quiz. So your full undivided attention, 100% should be on this quiz, precisely so that you get 100 points out of it, okay? So you have 30 minutes for 20 questions. If you do the arithmetic, very simply, if you do the arithmetic for that, you have an average of 1.5 minutes per question, an average of 1.5 minutes per question, right? Because we multiply 20 times 1.5 and we get 30. All right, so that means that you have an average of 1.5 minutes per question. So this is a strategy. All questions are multiple choice. They're all multiple choice. So let me show you, for example, well, we can look at the first question here together. So what, there's 20 of them. And there's 20 questions, so each question is worth 5 points. Therefore, 5 times 20 is the 100 points. See, each quiz total will be 100 points, and each question is 5 points. So if you miss one question, you're still in 95%, so you're still in the A. If you miss 2 questions, then you're at 90%, and that means you're in the A minus. You miss 3 questions, oops, now you're in the B range. All right, and so on and so forth. So keep that in mind. Each question is weighted that way so that each question is important. Now, There will always be 4 answers to each question. 4 answers, A through D, multiple choice, which means that one of these answers is the correct answer. Or sometimes you have 2 answers that are somewhat correct, but one is more correct than the other. One addresses the question better. So you have to be careful about that. Sometimes you have 2 or maybe 3 answers that are correct, but one is the best answer. Or sometimes you have answers that are correct, but they're not answering the question that is being asked. They're not answering the question. All right, so you have to be aware of all these possibilities. At any rate, this is my strategy for taking multiple choice quizzes, especially when it's only 4 answers. You know that one of these is the correct answer, and therefore start from the bottom up. Read the answers first. Read the answers first, so that by the time you get to the question, you have already read the right answer. You have it in your mind, the right answer, because you read it already. Okay, it has to be one of these 4. So you start from the bottom up until you get to the question. By the time you get to the question, it should be quite intuitive for you which is the right answer. You see? So you do that strategy, and especially when the questions and answers are fairly short, just one sentence or sometimes a few words, it's very easy to do that. It's very fast to do that. You have to read them anyway. All right, so start from the bottom up, read all the answers first, and then read the question. And you go, oh, boom, the answer. That should take you less than 1 minute, maybe even less than 30 seconds. All right. So by doing this, what you're doing is you're gaining time. You're gaining time against that clock that is ticking down from 30 minutes. And therefore, go through all of the questions, all 20 questions, and only answer the ones that you know. In other words, you do that strategy, read from the bottom up, get to the question, and you say, oh yeah, boom, that's the answer. Put in the answer. If you're certain, you have confidence that that's the answer, put it in, put the letter into the answer, and move on. Never go back to that question again. Never change an answer question. This goes with statistics. It has been proven time and again that when we change a multiple choice question, we change the answer on a multiple choice question, typically the second time we get it wrong. Our first intuition was the correct one, okay? It's called second guessing. Never second guess yourself. Once you've chosen an answer, it's because you feel confident about it, move on. Never visit that question again. Don't change that answer. Even if you get second thoughts about it, oh no, wait, maybe I made a mistake. Forget it, move forward, okay? Don't change a question, an answer that you have already selected, because statistically, it's likely that your first intuition was correct, and then your second guessing is going to be incorrect. All right? Okay, so that means for the questions that you feel confident and you feel good about the answer, you know this is the answer, and you move forward. Hopefully, by the time you go through the 20 questions, also leave the ones that you're unsure or don't have a clue, leave them unanswered, because you can go back. All right, within that 30 minutes, you can go back to every question. All right, so you go through the quiz once and you answer all the questions that you feel confident in. Hopefully it's all the questions that are there or the majority of them. And that would have taken you less time, less than an average of 1.5 minutes per question. So you have actually saved time by doing this. You have gained time on the clock. Follow? All right, now you go back to the questions that you're either unsure or that you have no clue about. Those are the ones that are blank. You go back to them, and now you know you have a little more time because you save time on the questions you went through the first time. All right, so, and you can do quickly in your mind, this has to be in your mind quickly, the arithmetic, just to figure out more or less how much time now you have remaining for each question. Let's say that you went through the quiz once and you answered half of them. You answered 10 questions out of the 20, just to keep the arithmetic simple. All right, you answer 10 questions confidently out of the 20. Hopefully you answer more than that, but let's say you answer 50% of the questions. Okay, now, how much time would that have taken on average at 1.5 minutes per question? At 30 minutes total, that would have been half of 30, right? Which is 15 minutes. So to answer 10 questions would have taken you normally 15 minutes out of the 30. But because you were confident and it took you less time for each question to do that, you have actually saved time. So look at the clock and see how much time you actually have remaining, because maybe it only took you 10 minutes. Let's say that it took you 10 minutes, maybe even 5 minutes to answer those questions quickly, right? But let's keep it at 10. So it took you 10 minutes. So now you have 20 minutes left over instead of just 15. You gain 5 minutes, right? So you have 20 minutes. And now the 10 questions that you have left to do, the 10 questions that are blank, in 20 minutes, now that's an average of 2 minutes per question. You follow? An average of 2 minutes per question. So you have gained time for each question. Excellent. All right, so now you're going to be doing that. You're going to be spending, now you're going to be looking at the clock. The first time you don't look at the clock, but now you're going to be looking at the clock. And you're going to be spending an average of 2 minutes in each question where you have some doubts or you have no clue. So the ones you have doubt, spend those 2 minutes, right? If you really have no clue about the question, like it's in a different language altogether, it's coming out of Mars, all right? Leave that question blank. Move on to the next one where you have some doubt, but you are able to eliminate at least 1 or 2 of the answers. You can say definitely none of these 2 answers, all right? So those are the ones that you're going to spend a couple of minutes on and reflect and think. And then answer, give it your best shot and answer and move on. Remember, once you answer, never visit that question again. Then what you're going to have left after you have done all that, what you have left is this group of questions where you really have no clue, but you only have a little bit of time, maybe just 5 minutes at most, maybe 3 minutes left. You have 3 minutes left on the clock and you have 3 questions or 5 questions where you have no clue. You're just going to go to each one of those questions and randomly you're going to select an answer. Randomly, you're going to select an answer because you have no clue. So each answer is the same to you, right? Keep in mind, now you're working on the statistics. Think about it. You're hedging your probabilities. You have 4 possible answers, so each answer has a 25% of getting it right. Just by guessing, you have a 25% of getting it right. That means that if you do the whole quiz just by guessing, you're going to get an average of 25 points out of 100. You follow? Of course, these are the answers that, where you have no clue, and hopefully there are very few or none. And you just need a few minutes to go back and click even the same letter. You can click about A or B or C or D, whatever, it doesn't matter, because you're just going at the percentage at a 25% of guessing it right. That's it. But you want to have very few questions of these left at the end or none at all, and very few minutes. You see, you want to spend most of your minutes in the questions where you have a doubt. That's where you want to spend most of your time. You follow? That's the strategy. Okay, so the last point on this is never leave a question unanswered. So even if it's just on minute 29, go through them all. Go through, you have 60 seconds and make sure that you have an answer for every one of those 20 questions. Because you see, this is the deal. If you answer just by random, you have a 25% of guessing, right? But if you leave it blank, how much percentage do you have of guessing? 0. You get a flat, big fat 0 for that answer. So you lose 5 points automatically by leaving a question unanswered. You see? Never leave a question blank when it's multiple choice. At least in this type of quiz, you're not penalized for the wrong answer. And therefore, guess. You at least have that 25% chance of getting it right. So never leave a question unanswered on these quizzes, and make sure that you finish before 30 minutes, because at 30 minutes, this test will close and you don't have access to it anymore to change your answers or to put an answer. Okay, so that's the basic strategy there. Now you're going to be at home. You can do this online at your leisure. So it means that for every quiz, you're going to need 30 minutes. And like I say, within a day or two at the most, I'm going to post the second quiz. All right. And so it's going to be on chapter 2, and the same strategy applies for the second quiz. You need another 30 minutes of your time blank, where you can just blank it out, or block everything else out and just concentrate on doing this, right? So you will be able to earn up to 200 points this first week. And by Wednesday of next week, you will be able to earn another 200 points for the course, which is going to move very nicely and very quickly for you. Okay. All right. Also, for the quiz. So the quiz is due by midnight of this Friday. And then by 1 minute after midnight on Saturday, the answers will be available. Okay, the answers will be available. So when you wake up in the morning, if you're very anxious and you want to see how you did on your quiz, well, you can always look at the answers at 1 minute after midnight on Saturday, right? But if you want to sleep the Friday night, sleep Friday night, and when you wake up Saturday morning, you can look at your answers. You can look at the 20 questions with the right answer. All right, that will be posted for you so you can check yourself. And again, see what you got wrong, go back to the chapter, review that, and follow the procedure that I mentioned, the same procedure as in the self-quiz. You want to fill in the blanks literally in your knowledge by using these key questions, by using these quizzes as we go week after week for the 16 weeks through the whole book. You follow? Through the whole 20 chapters. So you'll be teaching yourself this way systematically, which is the scientific way. The scientific method is to do it systematically, chunk by chunk, if you will, section by section, subject matter by subject matter. And by the end of the course, you will know a lot about biology that you have actually taught yourself, and you can be very, very proud of that, of the grade that you got. Okay. Now, one last thing. Since you're going to be at home and so forth, these quizzes also are, I cannot proctor them all because you'll be taking them at different times during the week, etc. Just make sure that don't take the quiz before you feel confident about it, because you only have one chance to take the quiz, all right, each week. And then once you finish the quiz and you submit your answers, it closes. So you only have one chance, one attempt for each one of these quizzes. All right, so don't blow it. In other words, make sure that you study first. You study first, and the way that you know that you're confident about doing well on the quiz is to do the self-quiz in the textbook at the end of each chapter. That's the way. All right, so do that self-quiz first, and then depending on how you do well there, you do then the quiz on Canvas, the one that really counts for your grade. One last thing. Yes, it is open book. Open book meaning that you can have your textbook in front of you if you want. You can have the chapter in front of you and read it through as you're taking the quiz. But there's a big danger in that. The danger and the temptation is that you're going to be looking up every possible answer, and that's going to take you more than 30 minutes. And therefore, there is no substitute for knowing the material beforehand. Okay, knowing the material beforehand. This is how the open book works to your advantage. If you answer most of the questions and you've saved a lot of time and you still have like 5 or 8 minutes left, and you've answered most of the questions, but you really are unsure about a few of these questions, or you have no clue about very few of these questions, then that's when you actually get into the textbook with the quiz going on as the clock is ticking down, and you try to find the answer there. All right. Now, how does that help you actually, and how is that not cheating? Well, it's not cheating, first of all, because I, as the instructor on the course, am giving you the authority and giving you the opportunity to use the textbook. All right. So I'm giving you that permission. But also in real life situation, what do we have? What do we have in our pockets? we have a cell phone. So if ever going forward into a real life situation, typically in a job or something like that, or even in a conversation, we need to look up something, we need to know something, and we don't know it, what do? We reach into our pockets and we go online and we find the answer. So this is kind of equivalent to that. You see, in other words, you have access to your textbook, but it wants to be, you want to use it as the last resort. Also because, again, the clock is ticking, and if you're going to look up all 20 questions on the textbook, believe me, you're going to go through 30 minutes, and you're going to leave a lot of stuff unanswered, and you're not going to get a good grade. It's as simple as that. So there is no substitute for knowledge. There is no substitute for studying and learning the material, all right, before you actually go to the test or the quiz. So open book can only be advantageous if you really know most of the answers and you only have a few doubts, a few questions, maybe 1, 2, or 3 questions, and you still have quite a bit of time on the clock to look up the answer in your textbook. You follow? And that would be equivalent to looking up something on the internet in our cell phones. Okay, my students, this is what I have for you. So now I'm going to make a YouTube out of this little video and send it to you. So make sure that you look at this YouTube and follow through. If you have any questions or comments, again, feel free to call me or email me. I've given you my cell phone number, but again, 786-489-9369. Again, 786-489-9369. And this is how we mentor our students here at St. Thomas University. Okay, folks, go for it, and may this be a great year of teaching and learning for you. All the best now. Bye-bye.